Hello and welcome to Move the Line Prop Drop Show, presented by Thrive Fantasy. Ryan Noonan back to talk about the best way, the most profitable way to bet on NFL football, and that is player props. Joining me here, as always, my friend Connor Allen. How are we doing?
Doing well. I did not get to catch an episode of the challenge this week, but I will make a point of it next week. I totally escaped my mind until we were about to queue up the show, and then I realized that I let you guys down. So it'll be on my to-do list for next week.
One episode in, so you're not too far off. Was a good episode. I'm excited for episode 2. Obviously, joining me in this spot as well is the man behind the Mayo Media Network, the Pat Mayo Experience. It's the man himself, Pat Mayo. How are we doing?
Did you end up playing in my challenge fantasy league?
I did not. I failed.
It's a big miss.
No, I enjoyed your show, though. So,
thank you.
Yeah. Glad we could, encourage you to do that here in the space last week. And then, tune in. Everyone should be subscribing to the Mayo Media Network, Pat Mayo Experience in the podcast forum. Not just great football content, but lots of other good stuff like the challenge to expose people like Connor to things outside of his little sphere out there. So hopefully we can get Connor on board eventually. So I want to remind you, we're going to be live here every week, 2 p.m. Eastern on Fridays with our favorite player props, taking your questions. So if you are hanging out with us on YouTube, subscribe so you don't miss a show. Smash the like button. It goes a long way and helps us out a ton. Lots of other great content here on the 4for4 YouTube page. So we want to make sure that you get notifications for that. If you're hanging out, let us know your thoughts this week on week 6 props. Feel free to ask us any questions, any things that you're considering. Perhaps you have another TV show recommendation for Connor that he's been deprived on over the years. Happy to help kind of broaden his horizons here as well. Also, again, 2 episodes of Move the Line each week, both available YouTube and podcast form. In addition to the Prop Drop, our game preview show with Connor, John Daigle, and myself is live at 6:45 p.m. Eastern on Thursday nights, leading you into the Thursday night football game. So again, another good reason to subscribe so you don't miss a show. Before we jump into our week 6 plays, coming off of a really nice week 5 here. So I want to tell you about our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. We partner with them so you can get a easy, free, no strings attached betting subscription to 4for4 and a free 4for4 t-shirt, right? Good t-shirts, nice and soft, for just $20. On top of that, if you deposit $20 on Thrive Fantasy, create a new account using our promo code 4for4, you're also going to get a 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. That promo, the subscription, is going to carry you through the end of the year, December 31st, 2022. The t-shirt deal is only good for the next week or so. It extends to October 24th. So you want to get the free t-shirt, get in now. You got to deposit just $20 at Thrive. But again, deposit match is $250. That's the best in the market. Anything that's out there from like a, pick 'em standpoints, the $250 match is great. Again, 4for4 betting sub is like $240 by itself. You're going to be able to get that for just $20. This is good for both new and previous 4for4 subs. It will extend your subscription. So you just let us know, hit us up anywhere you can reach out to us. You can hit out support at 4for4.com if you want as well. So again, thrivefantasy.com, promo code 4for4. You get a free betting sub along with your first deposit match and a free t-shirt. So pretty exciting stuff. Connor, we'll let you get it started. Good week for you last week. What's your first play for week 6?
Yeah, we'll kick this off with a bad QB under, going back to the well here. PJ Walker under 210.5 passing yards. It looked like this moved a little bit, but still on MGM right now. I think this number is about 10 to 15-ish yards off. I think it's unlikely the Panthers come out here slinging it with PJ Walker in his first week and without Matt Rule. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of turnover going on right now. It feels really easy for them just to be able to go out there, kind of run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. PJ Walker said, he's going to try to get the ball to his best players. But I mean, it seems like this team has kind of been lost and without a vision for a while now. And so now PJ Walker in the fold, I just can't imagine them coming out and passing it. I think there's a lot of ways that this goes under, whether it's, poor efficiency, lack of volume, kind of mix of both. And so, I mean, he has 2 career starts. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that he's, significantly better than Baker Mayfield. And I think that Baker is awful. So, I think that they're in kind of that same range here. And I lean towards the under. Our projections lean under. I know a bunch of other median projections also have kind of that 190s range. So I'd play this down to like 205.
No, Pat, you weren't wanting to get involved in anything Panthers related last week. Is there any Ewing theory involved here with the coach being moved on from defensive coordinator? You get the quarterback out. What are your thoughts on PJ Walker and the Panthers?
I have no real thoughts about DJ Walker and the Panthers. Hopefully he's like, hey, DJ Moore is pretty good. Let's throw to him. Well, what's DJ Moore's over under? I've been thinking about this narrative all week. That's the one thing I didn't really actually look into was, let's see, receiving yards for DJ Moore. Is it like hilariously low? 52.5. That's acceptable. 52.5.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping to be like 34 or something like that.
We're trending that way. Again, he's talking about, I'm going to get out there and, get the ball to my playmakers. It sounds great. In theory, I'm sure Baker Mayfield intended to get the ball to his playmakers as well. So Connor's got a pretty solid fade here looking at his picks on his Carolina passing game. So yeah, the lights are on, but no one's home with the DJ Moore thing too. It's been pretty frustrating. Pat, how about your first play?
My first play is going to be very similar to my first play last week because they have not adjusted the line as of yet. So once again, I shall go to the well with Cooper Rush under 4.5 rushing yards. He doesn't run. He had one run last week because it was a completely broken play. He got 2 yards. That was the only time he sniffed trying to run in that game. And then he took 3 kneel downs at the end. He actually ended up with -1 rushing yards when it was all said and done, but 4.5 just too high. Like if you bet this we're not going to get Cooper Rush all 17 weeks, but if you bet this all 17 weeks, it would probably go 14-3.
This is our last chance probably to bet the Cooper Rush under, but good luck. And you get the kneel downs. You're probably not getting the victorious kneel downs here, though. I think Connor and I both think that line's a little fishy, a little too high on the Eagles side. But yeah, it's a good luck. He's just not running anyway, so you don't even need the kneel downs to bolster the play. Keep going back to the ball. We're staying with quarterback unders here. I'm going to start with QB under 2 is not typically a pool I dip my toes into, but Marcus Mariota under 17.5 completions. This is available on PointsBet at -115. I think the under 27.5 attempts is a great look as well, but he's been so inefficient. He ranks 30th out of 35 quarterbacks in completion percentage over expectation this season. So I'm going to go under on the efficiency metric here first. He has not topped 17 completions or 26 attempts in any of his last 4 games. Now San Francisco comes to town. Again, they're depleted, but they are the top ranked pass defense in the league. And there's no way Arthur Smith at this point, who would love to just establish it all day, is going to suddenly turn Mariota loose from like a passing volume standpoint too. And with, I think, Cordero Patterson out, some of those like easy dump offs, both from like a volume and efficiency standpoint, probably hurt too, right? They're just not leaning on any of these other guys in the passing game like they would with CPAT. So the Niners have a ton of injuries, but they have just as many along the defensive line as they do in the secondary. Like Kinlaw's out, Armstead's out. So like I think they continue to run the football here. It's a pace down spot for both teams. I think we're going to see pretty muted play volume. The Niners are 30th in pass rate over expectation on the season. The Falcons are 31st. So both teams are probably going to hand the ball off a ton. And we typically lean way over, and Connor can attest to this too. Projections are pretty high on quarterbacks, but we're under on both these numbers. And that's just another like kind of feather in the cap on this one. So I like under completions. I like under in attempts. Pat, what are your thoughts here?
I'm slightly under on both. I am projected for the fewest attempts of any starting quarterback this week. So I only have him at 26 passing attempts, but I do have him at 16 completions. I mean, sneeze a little bit or get an extra first down, and all of a sudden you're over on both those. So
Sure.
It's pretty much, it's in the margins for me. It wouldn't be a play for me.
Connor, what are your thoughts here?
Something that stuck with me last week was when they were down like 14 points and they're still just trying to establish the hell out of the ball, like running the ball continuously. Like they game script just doesn't really matter for them. They're still just going to keep running it. So yeah, I think it is a little bit, narrow, but I also like it. I think it's worth a play just because of kind of what we've seen. Like they don't really seem that intent on winning games. They just want to like run the ball, try their best, make the score as close as possible. Like that. It's one of those types of things. It's like a college mentality. It's like, oh, we only lost by 7, not, like 21. So
even last week, they did turn up the pass rate over expectation a little bit, and he got to 25 attempts. So like even when they got down by 14 early, they still didn't really push it. So like both of them. But again, I lean on the efficiency play. Back to you, Connor, for pick number 2.
Pick number 2, we are going to go with Kirk Cousins over 22.5 completions. He has more than 22 completions in every game so far this season. Now faces against a injury depleted Dolphins defense. And I think the biggest worry here would be like Kirk's stats against the blitz, which have been pretty bad so far this year. and Miami blitzes a ton, but I think most of that's actually pressure based, which the Dolphins rank dead last in right now. So, they're not getting pressure. They're blitzing a lot. They're not getting pressure, which leads me to believe that there's going to be a lot of quick passes, a lot of like short completions there, get the ball out quick. And Dolphins so far also 30th in pass defense EPA, dead last in pass DVOA. So I think that it kind of spells towards that kind of more quick passes here and a lot of easy completions for Kirk. And if they don't plan on doing that, then this bet is going to be way, way off. But, I think as long as they have any kind of common sense and game planning, seeing what the Dolphins have done for, I guess, 2 years now, they should know what they should be doing here.
That was what kept me off of this play, was the really, really bad and it's been sinking year over year with his against the blitz rate and stuff. But you make a good point. Miami has not been getting home, even though they are blitzing at a pretty high rate. Pat, what are your thoughts on that?
I like it. There is another one from that game that I think that I have more interest in, but it's hard to really go wrong if he hasn't gone under the number all year. And we just see it with the Vikings every single week. Even if they jump out to a big league, they'll find themselves back in this game somehow, and then he'll have to pass some more. And it'll be something ridiculous along those lines. So I like the Kirk Cousins stuff. I'm going to stick in that game and just go to the other side of the ball. I really don't know a ton about Skylar Thompson and whether they're going to just let him cook and throw 50 times. But regardless of what the score got to in the Cincinnati game, and regardless of what the score got to in the Jets game last week, we even saw this a little bit in the Baltimore game when they were down big, is that Raheem Mostert keeps getting the ball. Now, every time I take an over on Raheem Mostert, 2 times in the past 3 years, he's gotten a season-ending injury in both those games and failed to go over that number. But right now, 14 and a half rushing attempts is what he's at. He's cleared those numbers each of the past 2 games. I think this game is going to be close. And I think if they want to keep it close, they're just going to feed him the ball over and over. And Minnesota can't stop anyone on the ground. So as long as Chase Edmonds continues to see this bench roll and we get a ton of Raheem Mostert, I know he was supposed to be quote unquote banged up. He's going to play. He's already said he's going to play. So I like the over on him here. 14 and a half rushing attempts.
He's already dealing with a knee injury, Pat. We're already off to a rough start for Mostert and his family in this one. You gave him the kiss of death here. You get a little custody rubbing off on you on Mostert here?
Maybe so, but I keep using him in spots. I just haven't made it one of the picks on the show. So maybe this is what pushes it over the edge. But otherwise, he's been very good to me this year.
Yeah, he was on my list early in the week. And when he popped up on the injury report, it gave me a little bit of a scare. But Connor, your boy Chase Edmonds has been not involved. He is now losing secondary carries to Myles Gaskin. So I get where Pat's here, and I do think they want to probably lean on the run and protect Skylar Thompson.
In the preseason, when he responded to one of my tweets, I was so excited, and now I think I might just delete the tweet because it was so bad, and it's almost embarrassing that he interacted with my tweet because he's been so bad. He's been literally one of the worst running backs in the NFL, which is embarrassing. But okay, so what about 60 rushing yards here? Because I guess my only concern is maybe the Dolphins fall behind, but Vikings are only 3-point road favorites, so 60 rushing yards against a bad Minnesota run defense is also not bad either. If he's getting 15 attempts. I don't know. I think he should probably just get there in both places, I guess. But 14 and a half looks like even money in most spots now. So I think that's a pretty good look.
Game flow has not affected the amount they want to run on first down with Raheem Mostert so far this year. They've been down 21 and be yeah, let's give him the ball. Go nuts. Free yards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially with this quarterback too, that they probably want to hide. Don't hate that at all.
Maybe he's great. Who knows?
He might be great. He might be terrific. They probably didn't think they were going to get many Skylar Thompson snaps this year. So my next one is Mark Andrews over 69 and a half receiving yards. This is available on DraftKings at -115. Gave it out a play for subscribers at 4 for 4 at 66 and a half, but I still think 69.8 is his season average. So I still think this is very much a play, and it's a great matchup. Giants are terrible at defending tight ends this season. They rank 25th in Football Outsiders DVOA metric against the position. Andrews is going to see a ton of one-on-one man coverage here. There's a nice little familiarity here with former Ravens, now Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. They run a ton of man, a ton of blitz-heavy stuff. They're going to run a lot of cover zero looks, which is basically just single man across the field and bringing everyone else. Andrews is elite against man coverage. He has 2.8 yards per route run, second most targets in the league against man coverage as well, like one behind Justin Jefferson, who probably sees a ton of targets in that matchup, as we talked about earlier. Rashad Bateman didn't practice again on Friday. He is not going to play in this game. So like Andrews is like the first and second look, and then he probably tucks in and runs, which is probably a good play as well. So yeah, I love Andrews in this spot, over 69.5 receiving yards. Pat, what do you think about that one?
I like it. The studs have been coming through for us. I mean, that's where I had been leaning a bunch, be it Kupp or be it Jefferson.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, a banged up Kelsey is probably like the highest end, but Andrews is 1B in this conversation if he's not 1A at this point. So if you would just put WR next to his name instead of TE, then all of a sudden this receiving total is like 82.5. So I like the over.
Love it. Connor, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, it seems high, but it's really not when you consider just all the factors you mentioned there. So yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah. And he's got like, I think of all the guys with like a target share north of 25% of the season. He's like second in average depth of target. Like he's not a traditional tight end as far as like, you know, his depth of target stuff. He's not catching little 5-yarders that we need to turn into big plays. Like they use him vertically down the field, and he's going to have a lot of man coverage. And yeah, dude's just kind of an alpha in the mismatch. So again, you're hanging out, jump in the chat. Let us know anything that you're considering for this week. Any shows for Connor. Tell him what you thought about the first episode of the challenge. You know, the big reveal at the end. What's Tori going to say when Jordan comes out? How have they not talked? How did Anissa not tell Tori that they were coming on? Lots of questions. Connor, pick number 3.
Might as well be another language to me right now. My third one, Shi Smith, under 22.5 receiving yards. This one, I don't know, for some reason keeps coming like on and off the board, but I mean, it's not going to move that much. He's 1-5 to this number. Panthers rolling out PJ Walker. Smith is like 4th, 5th receiving option for the Panthers against the Rams, who are 3rd in explosive pass rate allowed. I know that their, metrics overall are not great in terms of pass defense, but he's probably only getting a couple looks here. And as long as they're able to contain him, kind of not let a big one loose here, he should go under this number. So I thought that this was a little bit inflated here, and our projections have him like a little bit under this number. So I thought it was a good look and something that potentially, could go like way, way under. I mean, this could be like a 1 for 8 kind of game for a guy like Shi Smith.
Yeah, we talked about this one too. And like, we even saw more Terrence Marshall last week too. And I don't know if that was just because that game got out of whack, but like, yeah, this is pretty thin. This is definitely a Connor type of play. Pat, any Shi Smith takes?
My numbers like him over, so do with that what you will. But it's just a pure stay away from me. Shi Smith, come on.
Yeah.
If you feel like he's not going to be involved, then hammer the under.
For sure. This is a Connor play though, right? This is like a thin.
I need to get back on brand. I mean, I've been just doing too much other shit, and now I got to just focus on what has hit for me in the past 2 years, and go from there.
For sure. Pat, how about you? Back to you, number 3.
This is an odd one. I thought this number was just weirdly low. It's one of the biggest discrepancies I have, and it's Rachaad White over 1.5 receptions, and like I have him projected at almost 3 in this game, and that's around what he's been getting in this Bucs offense. And I just think that in a game where they're 8.5-point favorites, if you do expect a blowout, then I think you're just going to see a whole lot more White than you normally see. And we've been seeing more of him over the past 2 weeks when Fournette needing a little bit of a break. This seems like a perfect opportunity to throw him in, be it over receptions. I don't know about rushing yards. I believe that's at 14.5. I mean, I would lean over, but I don't. If the game doesn't get out of control, he's not going to end up near that number. But inside the passing game, that's where he's been doing all of his damage. So I like the over 1.5.
Yeah, we have him at 2, but I also agree. Like when you look at Lenny got involved last week with like 11 targets or something wild like that, Connor. 16.5 is what we have for the rushing yards, but he's trending up from a usage standpoint. So don't mind those looks at all. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny because like early in the season, it was like all Lenny. And then like after the first 3 weeks, he's like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, this is not going to happen anymore. I need to, take a break. And so now then they started working with Rachaad White, and they've actually followed up on that. You hear that sometimes with, guys like Austin Eckler talked about it, and, he still plays a lot, but yeah, like Leonard Fournette here, I think is legit, getting subbed out for Rachaad White. So yeah, I like the overs here. I mean, you could see his role continue to expand as long as he, maintains the trust of Tom Brady and doesn't like mess up any pass pro or anything like really, really bad or fumble.
I like it. Chat's quiet. Pat, can you tweet this out? Get people in this chat to harass Connor for not watching the challenge and let us know their thoughts on props. And I will give you my third. We have Kyle Murray. Kyler is going to go over 36.5 passing attempts in this one. It's available on BetMGM at -120. 42, 32, 58, and 49 are what he's done in the past 4 games. So I feel 36.5 is probably pretty comfortable in a neutral setting. That doesn't feel like a neutral setting, though, because surprisingly, the Seahawks are a voluminous offense. They are running a ton of plays. They are running fast. They are doing no huddle at like the 3rd or 4th highest rate in the league. Cardinals are 2nd in the league in plays per game, 3rd in dropbacks. And Seattle's defense is terrible, 31st in DVOA against the pass. And I think Seattle has success on the other side too. So it forces the Cardinals to stay really aggressive throughout. And again, you kind of look at how this Cardinals offense is going to be formed here too. They don't have a traditional running back in this game. James Conner is going to be out. Darrell Williams is out. You're going to have Eno Benjamin, who is more profiles as a pass catching back. So again, now you have Rondell back in. Like, they have more of a healthy passing game than they do against, on the ground here. So I think you're going to see Kyler drop back 40 times and chuck it. This should be much higher in my opinion. So Connor, what do you think about Kyler in this one?
I lean there. I didn't end up playing it. And I think that was mostly just because I was a little bit worried, because if the Seahawks are up, they're going to just run the ball a lot. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's probably the right play, but I think it's pretty close to our number. So for me, it was like a little bit of a stay away. I'm just not sure that I know that like that there will be elevated scoring and that the Seahawks generally elevate scoring, but I'm not necessarily sure that translates to play volume. And that's still my only concern there, is that like, will he get to like 40 plus attempts?
Pat, where do you have Kyler here?
Kyler's my favorite stack up DFS quarterback this week. So I am completely on board with this. The only thing that always worries me is that for whatever reason, like for the first 20 minutes of the game, that this offense is just going to look putrid and they're not going to know what they're doing. And then all of a sudden we'll get into this Kyler, not even call him plays anymore. He's just running around like a crazy person. And that's when their offense is at their best. But looking at it, what do I have him for? 25 completions on 36 attempts for 243. So yeah, I guess that tracks.
Yeah, right there. I agree. I mean, I don't understand how Cliff's scripted 15 are so bad every week. Like I don't know. It's so consistent. They're by far the worst first quarter team in the league. Seattle's a soft landing spot for them to maybe get something going there. But yeah, I do think that we're going to see that in the second half. So you're going to go into the half feeling like you're a little bit behind on this, but because of the makeup of the team and this game environment, I think we see some volume there. So, all right, Connor, bring us home. Last one.
Yeah, so we just got some breaking news here that Cam Akers will not play this weekend as of a minute ago. They said he will not practice today, going through some stuff. So if, for anyone watching the show, if you have any Rams props out there on maybe some, offshores or locals or something, I don't see any on domestics, but, hit some Henderson overs or Malcolm Brown overs if you got any rogue ones hanging out there. My last one here, though, is Elijah Moore. I took the under on 3.5 receptions. I know it's getting a little bit juicy here, but I still think it's a good look. Moore has 4 targets in each of the past 2 games with Zach Wilson back. Just 3 and 1 receptions on those on a 14.5% target share. Going back to last season, Moore has fewer than 4 receptions in 6 of his 9 games with Wilson and has caught just 23 of 50 total targets. They just don't seem to be on the same page at all. Also, this is like a pace down spot. I think that we're going to see a lot less volume than normal. Jets shifted to a run first approach. Since Wilson came over, 14th in pass rate over expectation with Flacco, 24th in pass rate over expectation with Wilson, and now operating at like a bottom 10 pace. I know some of that was game script dependent, but pass rate over expectation usually accounts for that. Packers also playing at the slowest situation neutral pace in the league, and they passed a ton last week, but I think that they probably go back to the run heavy approach, after they somehow, lost in London to the Giants. So yeah, I think this is going to be like lower volume in general, plus his targets have been inefficient. So I think it would take like a ton of quick scores for the Packers and then just like, 40, 50 attempts for Wilson to kind of hit the over here. Otherwise, we're getting like a normal game flow. I think that he goes under the majority of the time.
Yeah, I like it. I have some bonus props in this game that I would love to get Pat's thoughts on too that I've considered, because I actually do think I lean under on Zach Wilson's attempts for some of the reasons that Connor outlined there. Because I do think we are going to see them script a little bit more run heavy. They are actually not, Packers are pretty bad against the run so far. And we've seen that, Flacco stuff split Also, Tyler Conklin, he had a bad drop that turned into a pick six in that Steelers game. And then last week, he ran 7 routes. He played almost equal snaps to CJ Uzomah, but he got targeted once and ran 7 routes, 0 passing yards or receiving yards. He's hung out there at 20.5. Pretty thin. I think a lot of median projections are going to tell you that that's probably a pretty decent number, but there's a legit chance that now that Uzomah got healthy, he might just be kind of benched or, be more of the blocking guy. So I don't want to go super heavy on Jets unders here. They're super correlated and all of a sudden you lose all of them. But we'd love to get your Jets thoughts on Connor's play and then some of the other stuff there.
I would just want to hit over on Berrios on everything, but they're not offering me any decent Berrios numbers. So
cowards.
He's the guy who really benefits from Zach Wilson playing quarterback. They just, whenever Zach Wilson's in, they're like, Berrios, we need to get him 5 weird touches a game. Now, some of them aren't catches. Some of them are going to be jet sweeps and stuff like that. But he's always a good anytime touchdown play, weirdly enough. I mean, I don't have any real thoughts about what's going to happen with the Packers. I would have been 4-0 last week, but I went with Aaron Rodgers under passing attempts. Well, this is a lock. No, because all they wanted to do was pass for no yards, apparently. I don't know what the hell was going on in that game, but I'm with Connor. What I do see is, listen, you can run all over the Packers too. The worst run defense in football. So you probably see a lot of Breece Hall, probably see a lot of Michael Carter, more than you're used to seeing in this game. So unders of the receiving game, be it Conklin, be it Moore, be it hell. I mean, it's not like Garrett Wilson's been lighting it up since Zach Wilson came back either. They're still hanging pretty high numbers. The only one I would really want to go over on is Corey Davis.
Yeah, he seems to love Corey Davis. He did last year too. Javon talking about Breece Hall over 14.5 for longest rush. Haven't looked at some of his stats on how often that's happening, but I don't hate it. I mean, the matchup is great.
4 of 5 so far this season. His shortest game in one game was 14. I mean, that's a pretty good look, I think.
Yeah. Do we know, is it because Mac Jones might play? Is that why we're not getting any Patriots props?
I know. I would love some Ramondre.
We need to bang some Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, what do they set it at? How high? What do we think it opens at?
I mean, that was the first thing that I went to go look at. My projections have him at 97 yards rushing. I'm going to guess it's going to be 68.
Oh man. Yeah.
Wow.
Combined yards too. I don't see a lot from JJ Taylor. I don't see a lot from Pierre Strong. I think he's, the pass catching back too. So Ramondre total yards anywhere, if it's under 100, I think is probably a great look. But yeah, I mean, if the rushing is in the 60s, woo.
Well, let's see. Kenneth Walker, they've listed at 61.5. Benjamin, they have at 52.5. So actually, you know what? But I mean, they were listing Derrick Henry at 72.5 2 weeks ago. So, okay, well, let me amend that and say 75.5 rushing yards is probably what we're looking at.
I think it's a play. I think
that was my guess too. I mean, even then, Nick Chubb has gone over 100 yards in 4 of his 5 games. They still set him 89. You know what I mean? Which I was hoping to get an under 105 or 100, but I mean, I'm dreaming at this point with how they've been setting lines, catching a running back rushing yard total at 100.
Where do you have Ramondre, Pat?
I have him, I believe, at 97. Let's see, 95 rushing yards, 17 attempts, 95 rushing yards, half a touchdown, and 25 through the air.
Yeah, we have 25 through the air as well. 19 attempts at 88.5 yards. So you have even more efficiency, and I don't hate that at all. So yeah, well, I mean,
the Browns have they're a bottom 3 pass and rush defense. They're bad.
They're bad. I don't want to take any linebacker tackles because they're terrible tackling team as well. So
how did those do last week? I forgot my sheet where I wrote them down.
We did pretty well. We're going to get back on it today too. I got a couple for you. So yeah, a couple that we're going to need to look for. They're actually slow to post this week. So last week we had Michael Walker. We gave out on the show here. He almost hit it at halftime. So
let's see. Yeah, you had Tranquil, Walker, and Cole Holcomb. I noticed the Holcomb one. I think he had 14 tackles.
Yeah, he had 15. Yeah, they did not post Tranquil, unfortunately, and Walker. Yeah, Walker ended up leaving the game, but he got there before he got hurt. So we're gonna take advantage of Walker being out of the lineup this week too, with some other guys. That'll probably be posted a little bit lower.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Ramondre is I think the Ramondre stuff it's gonna go so fast because I feel like everyone's waiting for it. It's you gotta stay plugged online and just not miss it.
I mean, Javon here from the chat said, I've been setting alarms. Honestly, I don't blame you. He opened it actually at DraftKings. I know this is Pat's favorite market, 20-1 to lead the league in rushing this week. And now it's down to like 10-1. I mean, it's probably not a play there because but it's close. Like he should go nuclear against this team.
I mean, we have him behind only Chubb, slightly ahead of Saquon. We have him slightly ahead of Jonathan Taylor, slightly ahead of Dalvin Cook.
Oh, really? Whoa. What do you have Jonathan Taylor projected for? 17
carries, 83 yards.
I have him for 19 carries and 113 yards.
Ooh. There's probably some, I don't know who else we have tied in there, but yeah, 17 for 83.
I mean, do we think they're going to work in like Deion Jackson and Phillip Lindsay? Probably not.
Probably not. If Taylor's healthy enough to play, they're giving him the ball. Like that's their only out.
So that's what I would say. I think there's a sweep that gets done on Saturday mornings. We're still projecting Deion Jackson for 8 carries. So that's probably impacting the Jonathan Taylor line. Because I agree, like Deion Jackson's not getting 8 carries if Jonathan Taylor's active and healthy, which he probably will be. Practice again today on Friday. So, all right, Pat, number 4 for you.
I have a couple. I'll throw this up to you. I tried this last week and we got it wrong. So we need to redeem ourselves on this one. When I gave like the 4 of them at the end, I just want to check on this for 1 second because this number just kind of stood out to me. Something I had remembered that I randomly saw on Twitter throughout the course of, he did it the first 2 weeks. Michael Pittman doesn't have a target deeper than 17 yards downfield all season long.
Wow.
I was like, but his over-under is 22.5. So I thought that was somewhat interesting. Didn't play the last game against the Jags either, if people are wondering. So I'm going to cross that one off. But 2 that I'm looking at was one that I played last week that we were talking about. We all kind of really liked it. I bit the bullet on it and went for it. I went with Kenny Pickett under 17.5 rushing yards, his 1 attempt for 10 yards on a completely broken play where he looked very uncomfortable when he was running the ball. That's still set at 15.5. No, thank you. Under 15.5. Or you just do the same game parlay. Kenny Pickett under 15.5 rushing yards. Kenny Pickett over 37.5 passing attempts. Like that seems to correlate pretty well with me. He's not just running for the sake of running. If you expect them to get blown out, this is a perfect spot. You throw Rashad White into that one as well, having a 3-banger or something crazy like that. That or Christian Kirk, 54.5 receiving yards. He has a bad game and now he sucks all of a sudden. Let's go back to the over on that one against the Colts.
Connor, you were on that, I think, last week too, right? You were on Kirk over?
Yeah, now Doug Peterson was talking about like how they want to get him like 10 plus targets again. They're like, this guy should not be getting 3-4 targets. Like he should be getting 10 plus. Yeah, I've been looking at that. I was just seeing like minus 125s, which I don't like to bet overs on yardage at minus 125. But if you can get like a 55 at, minus 110 or minus 115, I'm definitely into that.
So that will be my play. Kirk over 54.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I like that too. I don't mind the same game parlay. I think Mike Evans is another guy on my list that I'm considering too, who you've been really able to attack the Steelers with boundary receivers. And you have a little bit of concerns about, Chris Godwin being 100% healthy. You're not going to get a lot of volume from Mike Evans typically. You can do it on, 4 catches, maybe 5 catches. But I think like mid-60s, I think he's a nice look too. So not a bad addition to a same game parlay there if you're looking to kind of tackle some of the Pickett stuff and Rashad White stuff that Pat's given out there.
See if we can crank one of these out. Wonder what all this ends up paying.
I had a nice one last week. We loved actually I went into that Tennessee-Washington game. Our boy John Daigle loved that game from DFS perspective. Played around with some alts there and hit like a 50-1 same game parlay with the DraftKings boost. So I'm probably going to go to the Arizona Seattle game. I think this week and do something pretty similar because I think pretty narrow workload in that game. And I think we expect a lot of fireworks. So lots of ways to play around with some alts and get a pretty juicy one. So
it was actually something that I was considering doing for my 4th bet. Be like DK Metcalf ladders. You know what I mean? Just like all the way up because it's a great matchup. I mean, they should be throwing a bunch. So I'm into it. I think that's a good game to like play around with some same game parlays. Same with Chiefs Bills is very obvious, but I mean the total is only at 54. I know the props almost seem more adjusted over the total than like the total being adjusted. I don't know. Like all their props are super high outside of Gabe Davis, which I know you took early in the week at 51.
Yeah, it's another one too. Yeah, there's just so many ways to chase it. The Gabe Davis stuff is too low.
I do have a quick bet here for anyone looking to get some like serious, degenerate action. Darrell Henderson to lead the week in rushing, 65-1 right now on DK. Cam Akers out. Apparently might get cut. I mean, McVay apparently, I'm just like reading through some of these quotes that are popping up here, said the team is working through the situation, declined to say whether he believes Akers will be a part of the team in the future, working through some things. So probably just some personal things. I mean, I doubt he gets cut, but he's been really bad. So, but the whole line has been really bad too. Like none of them have been that good. So
you wouldn't cut that dude for being bad though. You wouldn't just cut him mid-season for being bad.
I mean,
you just would bench
something
him.
else had to come up. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like something else had to come up. I don't know. There's definitely some weird stuff going on behind the scenes. I know week 1 we kind of got word that he was like barely going to play, kind of like right before like kickoff, which was awesome. We were able to get down some unders there, but now, I mean, he was the only one who got carries last week. Like Darrell Henderson didn't even touch the ball. So I don't know, but still worth this, whatever lunch money on 65-1 could certainly do worse.
You got a same game parlay built there, Pat? What are you looking at?
Yeah, DraftKings is not offering what I want. Like they don't have Kenny Pickett under rushing anything. It's only like the ladder of more than.
I know.
Like, well, no, thank you on that one. But I can go 17 or more receiving yards for White and 40 plus pass attempts for Kenny Pickett, 4.5-1.
Nice. You're not even getting like super degen with all the extra legs. You're just kind of keeping it
just
simple.
2 of them.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I'll probably get wild again. The one they hit last week was an 8-legger. They had a free bet and then they wanted to boost it. So yeah, take advantage of those things. They're out there. Our friends over at DraftKings are very kind with some of those things. All right, last one for me, and then maybe we'll go into the tackle streets here and make some notes on some guys to watch for. Last one I'm going to do is a under. I'm going to take Najee Harris under 61.5 combined yards. This is thin from like a total yardage standpoint, but at this point, like Najee is just a thin play. We are basically any pro Najee thesis is like been kind of started with volume, right? He's never really shown, even in college, much of an ability to break big plays, and now the volume is drying up. Our own John Daigle was talking about it last night. Najee has out-touched Jaylen Warren 82-26 on the season, but they're tied in plays that have gone for 10 yards or more with 7 apiece. Like Najee just does not have the juice at all. He was 3rd in running backs route participation last year behind I think it was Swift and Kamara. He's now 30th on the season. It's down almost 25% and it's only dropping. He's played 6 quarters with Kenny Pickett. He's seen 4 targets. So we're dealing with way less volume in the passing game. Pickett's kind of got like I'm pushing it down the field kind of mentality, and that's not really working for Najee. And he's been pretty bad. And Connor posted a video of a David Johnson-esque attempt to turn the corner for Najee last week, and it was just an ugly, ugly play. So we're dealing with probably like 12 to 13 inefficient carries, maybe 2 catches. The Bucs defense, first in DVOA against pass catching running backs on the season. They've been terrific. So just a bad matchup too. Coach speak there too. They want to get Jaylen Warren more involved, and something might be wrong with Najee. He's not in the injury report, but I just don't think we're going to see a ton of efficient touches here. So even though 61.5 feels like a low threshold, I don't see it for him in this matchup. So I know Connor, you're on this with me. Pat, what are your thoughts?
I think it's just stemming from that Liz Frank issue that they were trying to conceal during the preseason. Like they're not putting him on the injury report, but just watching him play, it's very clear there's a problem, and that would explain it all. So I'm just going to tie 2 and 2 together with that.
Yeah, not going out on a limb. So yeah, maybe there's injury risk too, right? So this is another reason why we can sometimes die on the overs. You get these spots where the dude's hurt, and all of a sudden this is a blowout situation, and he doesn't play like he did last week in the 4th, where it's basically all Jaylen Warren. So Connor, want to add anything to this one?
No, you summed it up well. I would say that Najee, we went back and forth on this. Actually, you originally liked it, and I was like, I don't know, man. It's so short, because we played at some Najee unders earlier in the season, and like he got there just based on like 3 or 4 dump offs. But that was with Trubisky. As you mentioned, like it really has just not been seeing a ton of like passing work from Pickett. And I think that the quarterback change, like, is just generally underrated in terms of like who quarterbacks like to target, and something that's not, talked about a ton here. Jaker's boss man here in the chat said that Najee's a List Frank thing, but today he took a steel plate out of his shoe. I mean, I don't know. Just like,
who was he? Like Lex Luger in the early 90s? Like he's trying to knock out the competition with his lead forearm?
He was running like he had a steel plate in his shoe, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I think he's still like, he wasn't running well enough to like take that out. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
He might need to keep the steel plate in his shoe so he doesn't ruin his career. Two-less ranks is a bad place to be. So interesting, Jakers. I appreciate the insights. I don't know. It doesn't change my handicap here. I think it's a bad matchup on top of everything too, right? So we have volume concerns, which were basically the only thing going for Najee, and now it's a bad matchup for him too. So yeah, good info. Tackles. They've been slow to post tackles. I want to give you guys a few to look at here.
I'm writing them down.
Shaq Leonard is going to be out for this game for the Colts.
Under.
He is, yeah. So under, but we wouldn't post it because he's not going to play.
Oh.
Zaire Franklin is going to now take on 100% of the snaps. Zaire Franklin actually leads the league in tackles and has the second highest tackle rate in the league at 11%. He will now not come off the field. He will not be posted nearly as high as Shaq Leonard would, just based off of name recognition. So you'll probably see like a 7.5. We'll smash over on Zaire Franklin at 7.5. We got to watch Michael Walker in Atlanta, who we played last week. He might sit for this one. So we want to look at either Rashad Evans will be his every down replacement at linebacker. The Falcons run a lot of 2 linebacker stuff. So Evans probably does not come off the field. He'll probably also be at 7.5. But I also like Richie Grant. He is the safety, plays basically box safety. Anytime you get a safety that's playing like 35%, 40% in the box, those are really good tackle numbers for those guys. And again, they're playing San Francisco, who's going to run the ball a ton. Richie Grant probably posted at like maybe 4.5, 5.5. I think up to 6 is probably pretty good for Richie Grant. So those are 2. One more, Alex Singleton. He is a linebacker for Denver. Josie Jewell is their starting linebacker. He got hurt in that game against the Colts. He will be out. Singleton has the best tackle rate in the league. And when he's played this year, early in the season when Josie Jewell was out, he put up some monster tackle numbers. So against a Chargers team who will run on first down until the cows come home, Alex Singleton should be in a nice spot too. So 6.5, 7.5 probably is where he's hung. I think he's going to get to 8 or 9. So we like Alex Singleton. So those are some of the tackle ones to look at. Sometimes they don't post the guys we want, which sucks, but I think those are probably pretty good looks if they get hung. I think we'll definitely get a Franklin look from the Colts.
Available upon request, Noonan.
Are they?
I don't know. That's what always says at the bottom. Request them and see what they come up with. They probably give you a really terrible line if you're
as soon as because you ask for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They know you probably want to chase overs. So,
yeah, I got to ask you, did you see Cuss' list of the best desserts you can have?
I did not.
What do you think he listed as the best dessert in the world?
Something from McDonald's? McDonald's hot fudge sundae?
A McDonald's apple pie was number 4, but you're sniffing along the same lines. Feinberg pointed out that this sounds like something like you would be happy in prison with the way that you listed these desserts.
What do you got, Con?
I mean, like, what was it like? Maybe like I don't know, like a strawberry shortcake or something like that, or like I don't know, tiramisu. I don't know, like
Jello.
Jello. Are you serious?
Did he
Dead serious
specify color?
He said lemon is the best Jello color. So yellow Jello.
I've never even had lemon Jello. It's the best dessert.
Well, you're not 2 years old, so what are you eating Jello for?
Jello costs like 50 cents, like at your local store to make. Like, it's like nothing. Like, wow, that's a good take. Jello.
Gus is unbelievable, man. He is unbelievable. I love the story about like I think it was in a tweet, and then I had to watch the show too, like where he didn't get they got the wrong fries, and then he went back in the store and got a coffee, but then didn't complain about the fries. But he didn't go to the bathroom there. He while was thinking about it, went to the grocery store bathroom because they're so much cleaner. It's an amazing thing that this is a friend of yours that is a real person that has some just wild life takes. So if anyone's not consuming cuss corners and everything over on Pat's YouTube channel, you are absolutely missing out, because there's actually good thought out sports stuff in there too. And then an absolute crazy person who drops by to chime in with life takes. It's insane.
And about how great the Jets are.
A lot of pro Jets thoughts. So, and I love to see Feinberg still rocking the Staley shirt with pride, dying a slow death there, but good for Jeff.
They should have went for it, by the way.
I know. I think he's got, I don't know what, do you think a coach like that, when you see too, what happens with, we've seen it a few times. Do you think it's I don't know, pressure from the media? Do you think public pressure? These guys can't be making those decisions based off of us.
I don't know what he is up to, but I appreciated that decision. But there's so much that can go into this at the same time. Just because on paper, on your blackjack card, it tells you, well, if we go for it, we have a 10% higher win probability in this game. That's great. You call it terrible play, well, then it's not so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much of it is wrapped up in, should they have gone for it? Shouldn't they have gone for it? I think that's kind of irrelevant to the discussion. Almost always you should go for it. The thing that you should be criticized for is just drawing up these terrible plays.
But that's the thing too, right? If you think that it's mathematically the right play, right? And analytics, but then it shouldn't be, I don't know, that should be contextualized in the math, right? I don't understand why you see these guys not know, or freeze up, or sometimes go and sometimes don't. I don't know.
It's a personnel thing, and it's no preparation going into it. On third down, they run Eckler. They get halfway there, right? So it's 3rd and 2. They get to 4th and 1. It didn't seem like they had a plan that they knew they were going for it on 4th down. And then they were like, oh, no, we're going to go for it. If you know you're going to go for it in this situation, and you know that you're running on 3rd down, just have 2 plays set up and get up to the line right away.
Yeah, you make that decision on 3rd down, and that should impact 3rd downs play call too. Yeah,
exactly. Because then at least you're keeping the defense doesn't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you just go and line up to the ball, they probably don't have the right personnel in. You can create these mismatches, but it's the waiting and allowing them time to change, allowing them time to scheme. Yeah. You're now overthinking what you're going to be doing. I like Mike Williams and everything. Do we really want to go hey, we need a 4th and 1 to seal the game? Let's go one-on-one slant route. It's
right.
I mean, you're averaging 8 yards a carry in this game, and you just ran it for 1. Maybe flick it outside to Eckler again. You'll get it.
Yeah, we've seen it with Nathaniel Hackett often, where you can see him thinking at the time, what are we going to do on 4th down? That didn't impact the 3rd down call. Again, it's very easy to sit here. I'm in my basement, to make these decisions and feel oh, I know what I would do. But it's just wild that these guys don't spend time or have someone that's in their ear to talk through them with this and be okay, here's what the math is, or here's the right way to do it. Here's what we should be doing. So yeah, it
sucks too, because every time they don't get it or something bad happens, analytics just takes the hardest L, because every, boomer out there is just don't go for it, and it's all the talk of everywhere. And I think some coaches do feel the pressure. I mean, Staley legit started out super aggressive, and then weeks 2 through 3 through 4, wasn't going for stuff and was being a little bit more, less aggressive. And so now I went for it again, and obviously that, didn't work out. So I think it could matter, actually.
It's funny because when you think about how results based that most people are, when you think about it, it's yeah, they didn't get it, but they still won the game anyway. So in a reverse situation, if you had punted and then you had won the game because someone had come down and kicked a field goal, be well, good thing they didn't go for it, or they would have lost the game. It's
yeah,
well, they didn't. And that's what you're saying. But in the reverse situation, regardless of the outcome, you just hate the idea. But you're not, no one is saying I think where people get it twisted, idiots, obviously, is just I mean, when they hear analytics, they think it's some sort of it's not even advanced stats. It's just stats. It's here's the percentage of you getting it versus here's the percentage of you not getting it. Here is how this affects the game if you get this 1st down versus if you don't get this 1st down, or you punt the ball away and then you have to hold up and prevent a field goal. If you're up by a touchdown, then yeah, it makes sense to punt it away. But if they only need a field goal, You really don't think that who has not, I mean, I just talked about how bad the Browns defense was. Chargers defense, not so hot in that game either. You don't think that they're not going to give up the 30 yards in like 20 seconds they'll play prevent D, they'll put 2 safeties back, and then they'll just dink and dunk over the middle for 30 yards and be where they were anyway in 15 seconds.
Yeah, we saw it too with the Raiders there in that game against the Chiefs, where Josh McDaniels takes a little heat where they decide to go for 2. Like, they have the Chiefs there. You're at a chance to put the game away. I think we're just so ingrained with like, well, no, I grew up watching football. You never would think about not kicking the extra point there to tie the game. You tie the game and give yourself a shot. And it's like, why give Patrick Mahomes the ball back in a tie game? Why not make him play from behind? You got down there. It's hard enough to get down to the 2-yard line. You have a shot to ice the game, or, at least if you stop the Chiefs, then you win. Right. So like, I don't know. Everyone's got their thoughts on it. It's definitely a boomer take to be anti-analytics, anti-2 points, going for 2 when you were down 14 with, under 5 minutes left is like, just take the points. I don't know. It's nuts.
And like I said, the part that you want to criticize about all these guys should be criticized for their terrible play calls. Like, that's the part, like,
it's never discussed. You're right.
Like, knowing when to go for it and when not to go for it is basically the easiest thing you can do. Super simple. Yeah. You can just have, like you said, you have your sheet, update your model for whatever the game situation is, the personnel that's on the field. Like, yeah, maybe you don't want to run it on 4th and 1. Maybe you want to punt it if you're missing all 5 of your O-linemen. There's context to some of these situations, but where they were currently at the game, the play is to go for it. Just the wrong play was called. You need to execute. Hammer him because he's calling stupid plays. That's the move.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than watching like a 4th down, like end around where they just get tackled in the backfield. I'm like, this is what you didn't think about this at all. This is what you drew up. Like, sure, maybe you get 10 yards off that, but like, you need 1 yard. Like, what do you do with an end around to, Dante Pettis or just some rando? You know what I mean? Like, makes no sense.
The one thing the Lions do, like the Lions go for it a ton, but no one, it's funny because Dan Campbell isn't known as a quote unquote analytics coach. So no one like notices that he goes for 4th down every single time, but he does, especially in those games where they feel like it's going to be higher pace. Like last week, they did it and they got shut out against the Patriots. But they were doing the right thing. Like, field goals were doing them no good in the second half of that. What are they going to catch up 3 points at a time? They had to go for it every single time. What they did against Seattle was super impressive and something that I've always called for. And I haven't seen anyone do it since the early 2000s Rams when they would go for it on 4th down. They don't try to get a yard. They try to get like 40 on 4th down. And it just leads to touchdowns.
Yeah, Solak did a great job. Ben Solak, he'll be joining us actually on the game preview show next week, pointing out how like it's tied to analytics, but like when you listen to what Josh McDaniels said in the Raiders situation after the game, he was talking about just being aggressive. And it's like, that's kind of why I think when you kind of talk about the Lions, like I think he does have an aggressive mentality. He doesn't have like you wouldn't think of him as like an analytical coach, but he is like I'm going to put our, step on your necks type of mentality. And yeah, I mean, I think end around, I think goal line where you literally bunch everyone up at the line to try to run up. Oh my gosh. Can you just fucking spread the field a little bit and try something different or
fades?
Those are the top. Those are the 3.
The fade works if you have one of the 4 fade guys.
Correct.
Yeah. And then that's it. Like running a fade to Randy Moss worked like 80% of the time because he's Randy Moss.
Right. Running a fade to Jacoby Myers is not the go-to, but yeah.
No, but like it's funny. It's like when they used to bring in like Brandon Jacobs on the Giants. God, he's huge. He's going to bowl you over at the goal line. It's like, who is the best goal line running back that you guys can remember in your lifetime? There's a very easy answer for me of who, I mean, he's the best running back I've ever seen, but LaDainian Tomlinson wasn't the biggest guy in the world. He would just run into a pile and pop out the other side. Yeah. Like, you don't need to be huge. Sometimes it might actually be to your benefit to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Another guy too that popped in my mind is old and beyond Connor, probably Charlie Garner back in the day. Charlie Garner was not big, but he was incredible around the goal line and it would pile up touchdowns because he's small and fast. And Brandon Jacobs is just going to run into the back of his offensive line. That's all he's going to do. Hopefully he moves the pile forward and gets it. But like, gosh, it's so maddening. It's like you bring everyone to the one spot that you're going to be running. And it's like, why do you still do this? It's asinine.
Well, it's funny because you're going to see all these like mid-30s coordinators now, like guys that are my age and like your age and that kind of thing. Where, I mean, when we played Madden growing up, I mean, there's something instructive to that where did you ever use a jumbo formation in Madden? Ever. Why? Because you could run it out of shotgun QB sneak, spread it 5 wide at the goal line. And if they don't cover all of your receivers, we'll just throw to them because they're wide open.
Right. That might be a fade situation where you have a guy that can catch the ball, but like even that's like worst case scenario. You spread it out and run it. Like it's insane. So
like it works in college, yet it's impossible. It could never work in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, because the field is different. The things are wider. The ball's on the further out. It's stupid. Connor, Thrive picks. Remind our folks again, if you missed at the top, Thrive Fantasy, new users, $20 deposit, promo code 444, free betting sub 244, and the free t-shirt. Not bad. Anything that you looked at? Again, I looked earlier. They have a $20 GPP, $25 GPP this week. As of like an hour ago, it had 250 entries. So again, probably not going to fill. Maybe gets closer. Again, the prop lobby is out there too, which is kind of more of your traditional pick'em style game that you're familiar with other spots. But I like talking about some of the offerings that they have in the GPP. Did you look at anything this week?
Zeke over under 1.5 touchdowns. It's your free square of the week. You can bet the under there. There are some interesting ones that are a little bit off market. I mean, Tyler Lockett's prop is at 5.5. Normally it's 6.5, even though I do like kind of the game environment to shoot out there. So maybe a stay away. Lamar, see they're shading this higher here, but 291.5 passing and rushing yards combined, but he's just been passing so little. So I don't know, maybe you can get away with an under there. Michael Pittman, under half touchdown, you're getting almost even money there. I don't think there's gonna be very much scoring there in general. And yeah, there's some other ones here that I think are interesting. Matt Ryan over under half an interception. I know that we don't normally like to bet these props. Jamar Chase 70.5 receiving yards. That's a great one too. I mean, that's that's like almost 80 yards in most domestic markets right now.
Yeah, it's off market too. And yeah, you'll see a lot of man coverage. The other one too that I love is Hollywood Brown. That's off market too. 64.5 total receiving yards there. And you're actually getting incentivized to take the over where that's like low 70s out there across the market. So that's a pretty good look. And they have, good stuff that's more in line with the market because these don't move in their prop lobby. Those move a little bit more with what we're seeing at, domestics. So again, 444 is the promo code, thrivefantasy.com, free betting sub for $20 deposit on Thrive. Good for new users at 444, new subscribers. It's got to be a new Thrive user, new Thrive email, I'll say. Take advantage. Get a free t-shirt that's good through October 24th, but the betting sub at 444 is going to take you through the end of the calendar year here for 2022. All right. Before we wrap it up, we're going to get to producer Sal's pick of the week. This is a question in chat, and we saved it as well. It kind of ties in Mike Evans' longest reception over 24.5 receiving yards, and Sal is in on a thought that I echoed earlier with Mike Evans over 64.5 receiving yards. Our projection has him at a little over 77.5. Talked about how you can attack the Steelers on the boundaries. Pat, any thoughts on Evans?
It's fine. I just worry about if this game gets out of control, what does this look like?
Sure. Connor, how about
That's
you?
my only hesitation on any of these.
Yeah. No, it makes sense though, right? Game script can get out of whack, and he's not a volume guy.
Yep. Yeah. And the receiving core is just the healthiest it's been in a little while right now. So Evans, he looks good on the number, specifically 81, 103, 61, 71 so far this season. I think that's probably the only concern, but I'd still lean over for sure. Maybe longest reception is a better way to play it because all you need is one there versus 2 or 3 longer ones.
Yeah. Is anyone playing in the Pittsburgh secondary?
Minka just got ruled out.
Yeah, Minka's that's a big loss for them. So yeah, he's not been practicing. Yeah, it's not great. It's a mess there. Everyone's out. I think from last week too. I'm trying to look at here what they see.
I have a question for you. If someone bet you over or under Taysom Hill 3 fantasy points this week, what would you take?
Over.
Man.
For sure?
I mean, no, because he doesn't get any targets.
It's like 20 or like 0.1. That's what you're going to get.
I think you got to play him. Like if you have him in fantasy, because what is he? He's in the range of the other dudes that are like touchdown or bust guys, right? Like he is in the Smith, Tyler Conklin's of the world that we were talking about earlier. Like, they're getting you 3 for 32, maybe. Whereas the ceiling that you get from Taysom, if he plays, is obviously what we saw last week. So I don't know. Does the Jameis thing impact it for you at all?
Is Jameis playing?
I don't know.
No, Dalton's starting. They
Okay.
just announced it here.
There you go. Does that
So
matter?
no, the Jameis thing is not concerning me.
Well, does the Dalton starting impact it for you? Do you think they lean on him more, I guess, because Dalton's in?
Average fantasy points per game for Taysom Hill with Andy Dalton of the starter is like 25.5.
I think actually a better question would be, part of it last week was Olave got concussed, Jarvis Landry was out, and Michael Thomas didn't play. So do you think the lack of pass catchers, where they want to get a little bit more frisky offensively, matters more? Because I think that's probably more relevant than the quarterback.
Well, Olave was in the game most of the game, and it looks like he's going to play. Michael Thomas looks like he's not going to play. I don't care about Jarvis Landry at this point.
Sure.
But it's a specific package that they come in and put in. Like, you're going to see like the move would be like maybe Taysom Hill will come in and throw a passing touchdown for 4 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's it's wild usage. But yeah, actually for me, I think without Michael Thomas, and it does look like Olave is trending to play, I'd probably take the over 3 points.
Yeah, I think I like that.
It would be.
It's funny because everyone hates Taysom Hill because of the money that he got, that like phony contract
For sure
that he had, but he's actually pretty useful. Like he is used in a way that we wish other guys were used on other teams. It's just people don't like Taysom Hill.
Well, because he always cucks their Kamara starts or like things like that. But yeah, I mean, he's incredibly efficient over a fairly large sample size at this point. Like, you're right, and can do a multitude of things. Like, we do probably agree that there are a bunch of other guys in the league that if they were utilized like Taysom Hill is, they could replicate that or maybe better. But like, whatever, like Taysom Hill's got a situation where they are like leveraging him and doing that sort of thing. It's interesting to watch.
And you said the 3 defense guys were Z Franklin, R Grant, and A Singleton, as I have written down.
Yes. Franklin on the Colts, Grant on the Falcons, and Singleton on the Broncos. So those would be the 3 best looks in the tackle market this week.
One week you're just gonna like hit up like a name randomizer and throw some out at us, and we'll just be nodding our heads because I've never heard any of these guys. So
yeah, well, we need Thrive to get in the streets with tackles. Our friends over at Prize Picks, like, they stopped doing some tackle stuff. Like, come on, let's go. Let's get some of the tackles back out there. We want to be able to, take advantage of those. So
there's a really fun one over at one of those other sites, projected fantasy points under 8.5 fantasy points for Tyler Algier. Like, just keep him out of the end zone, and that's free money.
Yeah, probably out of the end zone too in that game. So yeah, don't hate that at all. Questions. We didn't get you. You guys, first of all, step up in the questions. So, we didn't get a lot this week. There's a few in here. We talked with some of them. Gotta get better. We need more from you guys. We'll devote more time to it if you guys give us more. Otherwise, we fill it with all of our nonsense. We talked about analytics and 4th down coaching decisions, more tackle props, a little challenge in there for you. So, Connor, get on there. Let's go. I need you to get in the challenge streets. YouTube it. Look for some, watch Pat's show. Look at, you can watch YouTube's got a bunch of the 20 best eliminations ever, the 15 best backstabs ever, the 10 hookups that you didn't know happened. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So get in the streets.
I love tweeting it out because like half of Twitter thought I was like a complete moron, and another half was like, I've never even heard of that either. So I was like, you know what? That makes me feel at least a little better that I'm not the only one.
It's interesting. I would love to know the age demographic that agreed with you. They're probably 25 or younger to have not heard of it.
Most likely, yeah.
I don't know. It was winning cable in the 18 to 49 over the past 3 years.
Yeah. I just mean, like, you wouldn't have heard at some point, that's probably the largest swath of people that hadn't heard of it. It would be maybe just non-cable, non-satellite boomers like Connor that just stream whatever. Like, if it's not on Netflix or Hulu, they have no idea that it exists. So
that's fair.
Yeah. All right, Pat, where can everyone find your stuff?
At the PME on Twitter, Mayo Media Network, as Ryan alluded to earlier. You can subscribe to that on YouTube or the podcast network under Mayo Media Network, primarily the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, where, as was pointed out, we bring the funny. Not great for football picks, I'm not going to lie to you.
Pretty good. It's entertaining. It's definitely good. You got to mix it up a little bit. Lots of straightforward shows out there. The Mayo Media Network will bring you a combination of both, and it's good good old fashioned fun.
If you like to listen to podcasts because you don't hate yourself for an hour, like I listen to some of these shows. I had to stop listening because I'm just like, what is this? Like some guy reading off a sheet for like my favorite plays this week are basically this show, but without any sort of color to them. It's like, here's our show. Today on the show, we're going to take Kenny Pickett under 15.5 rushing yards, and then Cooper Rush under 4.5 rushing yards, and then Raheem Mostert over 14.5 carries, and Kirk Cousins over 22 completions, and Rashad White over 1.5 receptions. Like that, these are real shows that are out there. Like that, you won't see any of that shit on Mayo Media Network. We'll just have people yelling at each other.
No, that reminds me of the overs at
so
video.
good.
Yeah,
so good.
Classic stuff. So, Connor, how about you? What else is coming from you this week?
Trying to grind the prop market, get right here, focus in a little more time. Maybe hit some like, kind of off the table stuff here with like longest rush, longest reception unders, kind of grind that market more. It seems like it's a little exploitable. I mean, there were some good ones before Cam Akers got ruled out that I was going to hit, but obviously, no go there anymore. So we'll see.
Again, subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate it. Likes on the show, comments, all that stuff helps us out way more than you know. Again, lots of great other content here on the 4-4 YouTube page, DFS, redraft, waiver wire stuff. We got it all here for you. So for Pat and Connor, I'm Ryan. We'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone.